again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you.
Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. Start of the week at the Fans Forum, where we get the lads' opinions on the last 7 days at Newcastle United and talk about, formations, I guess, because that seems to be the topic of conversation. First question I had in was from Paul Tweedy. He was asking whether the time was to move Wilson out of the team and bring Isak in, and move Burn out of the team and bring Target in. And that's the kind of questions that we're getting on a regular basis in the chat as well. So plenty to talk about. Darren, let's start with us. Let's I do like to throw it open to people in the chat and people who send messages in. So Paul Tweedy wants to know what would you change, Darren? What would you change coming up in this next fixture and in the remaining 14 games?
Well, this is just my opinion, but we've got to trust Eddie Howe. We all in the league. We all play on the league because of one man. That's Eddie Howe. He picked the team. He does the tactics, and just you got to trust him. And I'll do a few changes. I'll rest Amaron definitely. I'll play ASM on the right hand side. I thought Gordon done well as well on Saturday. Target needs to run out, but and as I said, Jamal Lascelles had a blinder. I thought I'd never say that on a Monday afternoon. But Jamal Lascelles, I think he had a good game. But Target, I think just get Target, at least him get a bit more game time. I think he needs to rest down Burn. And yes, he just play the next game. He's got probably well anyway. But then Ajax has got to come for Wilson. Wilson's he's not at the race, isn't he? We need it, as George said. We need to start putting his laser through the boot because he can't even do that. You're doing that now, was he?
Okay, what about you, Alan? Good evening, mate.
Yeah, Steve. Basically, what Darren said, really. I think Target about time to come in if he's fit. Target to come in and Isak for Wilson. I too agree with your suggestion, mine, Steve, about Willock with Isak. I do think that's a different option to take. I really do. But we're not going to have Joelinton for 2 games. Bruno might be struggling with his injury, with his ankle. So that's going to be a worry till the Wolves game. But all in all, I do think Target for Burn. Give them a rest. You see, the thing is, he's not my favourite person. If you look back in the shows, back in the day, lads, Lascelles isn't my favourite player at all. But he did have a good game. But wasn't it because he was fresh? He was determined to prove a point. And that's the difference between the top teams. And unfortunately, us, we haven't got the squad depth, have we? And players are, they're running on empty now. That's my only worry. But to the point in question, lads, yeah, Burn getting relegated or changed. I mean, Shaw should be back for the next game. So Lascelles will be out there. And Target for Burn and Isak for Wilson for me, because Wilson does look as though he's off the pace. But he looked as though every training, lads, because that miss in the first half was like a person that hasn't really trained. He's not practicing, or is he just snatching it? Is he so out of form that is he ill? Because he's not running. He's not closing down. If you see him the last few weeks, he hasn't been closing down. It's either his health or he's just low. Obviously, he'd be low on confidence now. So they're the 2 main changes, Steve. Sorry, Steve, I'll rub it on.
What did you make? What did you make of Gordon? Darren says he thought Gordon did all right. I've had a couple of conversations with people today who felt he probably wasn't his best position.
I was actually disappointed in the way, like that's because even though he'd done a lot of short 5-yard passes to his man, he didn't take the defender on and run down the wing and cross. did he? He didn't take his man on, which I was hoping he would do a lot more. He was cutting inside or passing, 5-yard passing the ball on, linking up play. But actually, Darren, I was disappointed in him, actually.
But he's not a right-footed player, so he can't go down the wing and cross the ball. And I used to cross the ball, and he can't go down across the ball and harder for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Unless he was on the other side, he can do it, but he can't do it on the left-hand side. But I'm convinced I'd like the players to cut in and create more that way. When you watch these teams, ESM, he cuts in the time. Amron, he cuts in. We never see like Amron go to the dead ball line, do you? You see Trippier do.
Yeah.
He goes to the dead ball line, but you never see Amron, you never see ESM. And that's where on the left-hand side, you haven't got Matty Target to overlap. It was like, say, your Joe Littons or your Willocks, because Dan Payne can't do it. So, like, that's why you don't see it.
Just one final point, Darren and the lads, and I know I keep on saying it on the chat, and I get the comments is, we've got to give Elliot Anderson a chance, lads. He's getting forgotten about, and if people say he's not good enough, well, how can we judge? He's never had a full game. And I just want to see the lad have a run out in the team, because what's the point of the academy? If we're not allowing young lads with promise to get in the team, then what's the point of the academy? We may as well just keep on buying players in the future and forget about the youngsters, in my opinion.
I don't think he's good enough, mate. Again, Chef Weddy, Chef Weddy proved me a lot. To me, my opinion, mind you, I just don't think he can cut it.
Okay, Barry, lots of people in the chat over the last 48 hours saying Wilson, Isak and Gordon up front next game. What's your thoughts? How would you change it to try and get the misfiring front line performing again?
I was thinking about last night, lads. I mean, can I just say in respect of what you've said, I agree with what George said the other day as well about these Premier League footballers should be able to play with both left and right feet. I'm sorry, I was a Mickey Mouse player, but I used to spend hours kicking the ball backwards and forwards, left foot, right foot, like George did, not at George's level, but just so I could kick it with my left foot and it didn't go off in like a 45-degree angle across the other side of the pitch. It's like they should be able to do it. It's an easy excuse saying, well, this guy's left-footed, right-footed, whatever. I'm sure Kev would probably see as a coach, it's something you try and get your players to do. Formation-wise, I'm at a loss. I think we're really struggling because Howe doesn't seem to have that plan B. I was thinking this morning about should we go 4-4-2 if Bruno is injured. Why not get Isak to do some of the running for Wilson? See if he can boost Wilson's confidence a bit. Get him back in the game. The two of them together again. We haven't really seen the two of them alongside each other. I still believe Wilson's he's our best chance for a goal. I don't know what's wrong with him at the minute, whether it is a confidence thing or whether there is some sort of injury. But I have faith in Eddie Howe and his team that if he is injured, he wouldn't play him. So something's not working. We just need to find a way to give him that boost. I pray like hell that it's nothing to do with Fraser, because obviously Fraser and Wilson go back a long way. I'm hoping like hell that it's nothing to do with the two of them, that obviously Fraser's fell out big time, because would that be having an impact? Like I say, I'm hoping that's not the case. Isak needs to start straight away. Whatever position he decides to play, man, Isak needs a game. Gordon, I agree. He looked far better than he did at the weekend. He's had better games. Again, it's finding the best position for him. It seems to be becoming a thing that Howe's struggling to find the best position for some of these players. Bruno, he moves him from the defensive midfield position to an attacking midfield position, doesn't settle. Gordon, he's swapping backwards and forwards. Isak is in and out all over the place. He's on the right side. He's in the I think we just need to hit. I think we're going to hit form again. I agree with George. I think we played really well at the weekend. I don't think we had a bad game. And I think against lesser teams, we will get the goals. I'm not saying who will score them, but I think we will get the goals. Howe just needs to find the best way of getting the best 11 players on the pitch and see what he does from there. I've got total faith in him. like I say, Steve, watching the old shows and seeing how bad we were and the state we were in. Some of the results that were read out match after match after match, I'm thinking, what? And we're twisting about getting beat of 3 of the best teams in the Premier League. Bloody hell, man. Everybody else needs to watch one of your shows from 2 years ago as well, Steve. They'll get a reality check, because it's we could lose every game between now and the end of the season when we wouldn't be that bad. We're still safe from relegation, guys. It's like, what's the worst?
41 points. 41 points.
Would you qualify for Europe? Big deal. We're improving all the time. As long as we keep improving and we keep growing as a team, if it takes another year, does it matter? I agree with Anderson. I think he needs more games. I disagree that the talent isn't there. I think Anderson's going to turn out to be a top player. I think, again, it's another player that needs to be put into his best position and run with him for a while.
Okay, Kev, what's your take, mate?
Well, I only watched 30 minutes live. I heard the rest on the radio. But again, we controlled the game in large parts. The 2 goals were pretty much sucker punches, essentially. We were controlling large parts of it, especially the second one. I mean, from what I was seeing and what I heard and the highlights, extended highlights that I've seen, I thought, control the game. Again, it's just putting the ball in the back of the net, and I completely agree with George. I mean, why did Callum Wilson go with his inside of his foot and hit the bottom of his studs and he whiffed it? Why didn't he just turn his foot round and smash it with his laces and get it on goal? And anything can happen at that point. But it's just, I don't know. Again, it's just one of those, you might need one to go off his arse and go in or something like that. Just it's one of them ones. But a lot of people are saying get him out of the team. I will continue to play him. Because again, if you put him out of the team, what does that say in terms of the confidence, the psychological standpoint? Okay, well, you're not firing on all cylinders, but you take him out of the team. Well, what's that going to do to a player? Is that going to put you further backwards? Is that going to make him even more down in the dumps, depressed? But again, I'll go back to the same shape that I played this past weekend with my teams, and I'll go to a 3-4-1-2. I'll do that. And I'll tell you, I've got the team. I've wrote it out. It's Pope and goal, Shaw or Lascelles at right side, Botman, Byrne across the back, Trippier, Target either side, left or right. Then it's the midfield conundrum if Bruno's fit. Obviously, Joe Linton's out. So it'll be Longstaff, probably with Willock or Gordon. Or Gordon playing a 10, ASM playing a 10, and then Wilson and Isak up front, because I think Wilson needs help. I just think he needs help. You need somebody there somebody to play around him, because at the minute he's isolated.
Yeah.
I've said it on the show before, if you play a long entry ball into him, which his hold-up play hasn't been great. Sometimes it sticks, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it bounces off, sometimes it's not too bad. He'll bring players in, but if he's got somebody close to him and does his running for him, then he can just stay central. And again, then it could be a very, very successful partnership up there. But again, it's just what pegs do you put in the holes in and around, because again, I think it just needs help. I think Gordon would be better positioned in a 10, because I think the bits I've seen, he just took every time. Yes, he didn't want to go down the outside, and yes, inverted wingers, but that'll be going into the right side of the centre back, left side of the centre back, left back, right back, whichever. That means you're going on their weaker foot, and you're going against a stronger foot against a weaker foot, which can create fouls, which can create all sorts of other opportunities for us going forward. But yeah, it's just, I mean, overall play was good. I was surprised at Jamal Lascelles. Overall, it was, I wasn't disappointed. I was expecting a cricket score, to be honest. And you come away with a 2-0 loss, yes. But again, we could have quite easily won that game if we thought about it. And just, again, it's this execution in the final third. And Eddie Howe said it a couple of weeks ago in his press conference, box to box, defensively, we've been solid, but in the 2 boxes, we haven't been defending great, and we haven't been putting the ball in the back net. Middle third, we've been fine. We've controlled games, we've bossed games. So that's where money's made. That's the business ends of both the football pitch. So I think he's got a lot of decisions to make. I think he's got a lot of things to figure out. But again, that's what I'll do, just to not saying we're being found out, but we have been found out a little bit in certain things that we play. I would just change it up slightly because you got different pieces, different bodies in there to where we can create a bit, oppose more of an attacking threat versus a 4-3-3. Because not that, I mean, you could even go to a 4-4-2, but that's what I would do. Because I think defensively we will be solid enough, and then going forward, I think we'll have enough in doing different things. But again, I think Eddie Howe will stick with a 4-3-3. But hey, that's my opinion of it all.
Yeah, no one's ever going to go to a 4-4-2. No matter how much I would love to see that.
I'll play a 4-4-2. It depends on what you got, you know.
Hey, people say it's outdated, but you know, a big man and a little man still works even in modern day football. Just because just as journalists say it doesn't mean it doesn't. You know, and you know, you've got to have different formations. Ian, good evening, mate. What's your
evening? How you doing?
What's your take on all of this? I tell you another phrase that keeps propping up in the chat every night is we've got to stop playing inverted wingers. You know, there's lots of opinions out there.
I don't think there's a problem playing inverted wingers as long as they play well. I think it's when they are getting seen down the outside and they've got no option apart from to cut back. That's where the problem starts. I missed the first question because my internet was cocking up on my phone, so I just.
It's just about formation, you know, because we're out. You know, the cup final's been and gone. You know, we've played, you know, the Manchester City game. We've played the Liverpool game. We've come away 2-0, 2-0 defeats. You know, and now we're entering this last phase of the season, you know, 14 games, some very winnable games. Is it time to change the formation? And if it is, you know, if you were Eddie Howe, what would you do? And the main calls, and I'm sure you've heard it on the show, Ian, I know you watch, are always Wilson needs to rest and play Isak, and you've got to drop ASM and maybe play Anthony Gordon, or you've got to drop Dan Burn and you've got to play Matt Targett. You know, and I guess looking at this as well, the weekend's thrown up another problem for Eddie Howe, which he probably didn't need. He had to rest Shaw because of concussion. Lascelles has now come in and had a worldie, a really good game against Man City, which given him another problem. So, I mean, what would you do if you were Eddie Howe this weekend? Wolves at home, what would you change? Because he's more or less got a full squad now, apart from Joe Linton, who's suspended, Kraft, who's still long-term injury, potentially Bruno, although, you know, Bruno probably wants to play. He's definitely carrying an ankle injury. What would you do, mate?
I think it'll depend on Bruno's fitness, but we'll take it that Bruno's fit. I'd play 4-2-3-1 and take it at him and put more attacking players on the field. I probably would. I don't know whether people will like this or not, but I'd rest Wilson. I think Wilson looks shot for confidence. You know, it's doing him no favours keeping him on the pitch. You know, the chance that he missed was an absolute sitter. It doesn't matter what anyone says. For me, I'd put Isak up top. He's been shown enough loyalty and, you know, sentiment and everything's a great thing. But at the end of the day, we need goals. You know, the last 3 games that you're talking about there, on another day, we could have won any of them games. City, we controlled the middle. For me, for long periods of time. But like people say, midfield wins games, but that's obviously not the case because I think our midfield's been actually doing really well against the opposition. It's up front where we're missing chances and at the back where we're making mistakes, which are uncharacteristic mistakes. You know, trips has been flipping amazing for us, you know, and like he's been recently losing his man and you know, not up to his usual really high standards. His passing's been a little bit off, but not that I'd drop him or anything, you know what I mean? But I would go, jumping back to the question, I'd go 4-2-3-1. If Bruno's fit, play Bruno and Longstaff with Joe Linton's absence as the two sort of the double pivot, whatever you want to call it, holding midfielders, but not have them holding as such, just sort of as a support to the defence. And I would actually stick with I'd probably rest Miggy, and I would stick with ASM. I'd put Isak up top. I would probably people probably won't like this either, but I'd put ASM as the number 10 role behind Isak. Isak up top, and then Gordon on one wing, and who've I missed out? There's the other one.
Almiron.
Almiron, yeah.
Almiron.
So with Gordon and Almiron, you can switch them, obviously. So you could actually put Almiron on the left, which I think he'd prefer, and then he can go down the outside. So he's not, he's not as predictable, and Gordon on the right. But they could also interchange all three of them behind Isak, and also obviously all four of them can basically play. Well, certainly Isak and Maxi can swap who's dropping deep, who's going up top, leading the line. But going on to Isak just quickly, I've thought Isak, for me, Callum, however much I love him, he hasn't been closing down. I thought Isak's closing, as I've obviously worked really hard on the training ground on that aspect, not just running at people like willy-nilly. He looked, I thought, when he came on, like he did really improve, like that sort of the strategic close down, not just charging forward, but covering areas. And I would say that he was more effective than Callum, which I never thought I'd say when I first seen Isak play. I thought Callum was slow and I don't think he wasn't trying. I just don't think he's got the legs. So whatever's happened, injury, sick, illness, or fatigue, or whatever, I don't know. But he just does not look like the Callum Wilson of a couple of months ago.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point. I think most of us have seen that as well. So, good opinions. Vince, good evening, mate. Formation changes, and Wolves coming up next week. It's not the Wolves team that we played at the start of the season. They seem to have got their act together, so it's not a formality. It's not an easy game either. But what would you do next week?
It's had so many suggestions, there's so many different ways, but it's just like, for me, like it says, we're all doing well. We've been playing well. We are playing well. We're just not getting the right finishes. Like says, I think we're in a bit of a blip, but like says, I think we can pick it back up. Like says, after this, it's a letdown. Like I mean, like says, even like says, we lost 2-0 at City, but the performance was there. Like it says, in another day we could have won that game. Like says, we played really well and all that. But I think like says, I'm like says, I'd go for a 4-2-3-1. Just like Ian said there, but like says at the back, like says I would go with I'd go with Byrne, Botman. Like says Shaw. I think if he was Shaw, it's like says Lascelles has done well, so he can come back in. Like says give his shot. Trippier, obviously. Like says, and then the two, like says Bruno Longstaff, holding players, creating. But like says what I'd do, I put Gordon on the right footer on the right. I'd put Willock on the left. And I'd play Mickey in the number 10 role where he plays for his country and see what he does there. Like says, instead of having the country, because it's not just like says, and see what he can do attacking wise there, so he's not having to like cut back and stuff like that. And you think just going forward, but he also grafts as well. He'll cover, he'll stuff like that, and then Isak up front, but they can switch and stuff like that, play off each other and stuff like that. So it gives you a bit more. It just I think like says. It's just like says, just reading all the comments and all that, and the grief. Some people saying we need how to go and stuff like that. Going, what is wrong? What is wrong? It's like that. I mean, look at we don't want to be Man U fans. Man U got beat 7-0, and some of them are going, get every Ten Hag out now. One game, it's like that. Oh, it's like you just think, calm down. Like it says, we are ahead of where we are. Like so that's just them. We've been brilliant. We've been to a cup final, which has been we mightn't have won, but the lads, you have had a good day out and that to London and all that. So like says, we've had it's a good season. Like says, it's positivity. What the way I look at it is, I just look at it game by game, and what I want is players I can see who love being here, who want to play for the club, and you can see that. You've seen in the cup final, like he says, you've seen how upset Eddie Howe was that he didn't win. Like he wanted to win it for. All the players said they didn't say they wanted to win it for them. They were gutted that they couldn't win it for us. And that's what you want to hear. You want to see, and that's what I want to see. And each week I see them go out there and they give their all. All of them battle the heart out. We're not doing it at the moment, but we can get there. And I think, like says, Wilson, it has to be a confidence thing, because that's not Wilson. Wilson is one of the best finishers I've seen. And that ball, like says, normally it would just bang, he would have finished that. It has to come down to confidence or something like that with him there. There's something not like it is. I hope it's not like Fraser and all that. I hope it's not something like that that's fallen out. It's personal thing and all that. But yeah, like says, to me, like says, we're getting on. There's a process. We are going forward. We look strong. We've got players there. We're going to build on it. We're going to get better. Like says, they're just Like says, come on.
Well, you sound confident, mate. You sound confident. George, lack of confidence. Is it as simple as that with Wilson, do you think? And again, just thinking a bit more about the game at the weekend, your formation, what is there anything you would like to see? Would you like to see a combination of Isak, ASM and Wilson, or Isak, ASM and Gordon maybe through the middle? Give us your
well, that's the kind of changes I would make. I'm not sure I would tamper with the back. The only thing I might try is something from left field, as they say in other sports, is that if there's an issue about midfield, then we've got to prove that Elliot Anderson is the guy and give him the chance to show it. And the other thing I might do is if we want to make more than the one change in the middle of the field so that Bruno could go forward, why not give Fabian Schär a shot in as the holding midfielder like he plays for Switzerland, and he does quite successfully. And there's lots of things they could try, but Eddie Howe's not going to try any of that because he's got a way of playing and he's got the players that play for him. My worry about the team is that the number of players that seem to be need a rest, and Miggy's one of them. Maybe Wilson's one of them. I don't know. But I read a report, and I've been struggling to find it today on the internet, that from a Premier League analyst who was working out that players by this time of the year who have played 2,000 minutes or more should be being rested. Well, we've got 9 of those in our squad who have played over 2,000 minutes already this season, and that is quite a telling thing for me. The other thing somebody's already mentioned about Miggy. Miggy plays quite a different role for his country than he does for us, and he does it very successfully, and he scores goals. Well, that's another option in midfield. We don't need to be hamstrung by the fact that Joe Linton's not there or this or that or not there. We've got the options. The question is whether Eddie Howe's prepared to use them. In terms of Callum Wilson, well, I've been on about him all this week. The last 3 games, for example, in the game against Liverpool when we had 10 men, he had 2 good chances to have a shot on goal, and he didn't take either of them. The second one, the commentators were going on about how brilliant the West Ham forwards, the defender's tackle was to stop him scoring. Well, the Callum Wilson earlier in the season wouldn't have let the defender get close enough to score. He'd have walloped it in the back of the net before the defender got near him. Yes. In the cup final, I can't remember a Callum Wilson chance to say he missed it. And that's a Newcastle centre forward I'm talking about, or a cup final. I can't remember a Callum Wilson chance. What I can remember is Trippier, Almiron skidding that ball across their 6-yard area in the first 20 minutes and nobody getting on the end of it. And Wilson wasn't even near it. And he hasn't been running the channels. He hasn't been pressing like he was earlier in the year. There's got to be something different to that. And Isak's got the energy and the pace, if you want to use that. But again, you suggested something the other night, Steve, about do something really offhand, and that's stick somebody like Willock up front just to give them something different to think about. That wouldn't be a bad idea for me, or even Gordon, whatever. But we need to think about how we cure this problem. There's another issue for me here with Callum Wilson. If Callum Wilson's there because Eddie Howe's been loyal to him, that's fine up to a point. But sooner or later, that'll come back and bite Eddie Howe in the backside. being loyal and not getting results, he'll come back and eventually somebody higher up will say, "Hold on, what's this about? You know, we really need to be changing this." So I worry about Eddie's thinking on that one. But there's no doubt about it in my mind that had we had a centre forward in the last 4 or 5 weeks, we would have been pushing for the top 2, not for 6th place.
Okay, Paul, what's your views? What would you do on the formation side of things?
I'd definitely take Burnout. I would switch Miggy to the number 10. I would take Callum out of the next game and push up Gordon and Isak. And basically, I feel that since we were at Wembley, we've kind of skidded on our backside, and the players are feeling it. And you know, I mean, there does need to be a change. I mean, like you were saying, the 4-4-2, maybe change it up that way. You know, say to the lads, like just before kickoff, we're going to do like 20 minutes or 30 minutes of this formation, and then when I stick my hand up or whatever, we'll switch over to this, and then maybe that'll catch out the likes of Wolves and other teams that we're going to play after that game. Because to be totally honest,
something that's going to work me personally, change a formation all the way through a game.
Why not? I mean, if you look at it this way, right? Before we went to the World Cup, right, we were smashing in goals left, right, and centre. And now we can't buy a goal. And, you know, I mean, somebody was saying this morning we're down to, is it 6th or 7th? Which means, you know, we've got to change something to re-energise the players. You know, I mean, people talk about left and you know, kicking the ball with your left and your right. And I've noticed with like certain players, they've run out of ideas, and maybe it's you know, that switch of formation within the game, and you know, hopefully it'll work. You know, because we need to get back into that groove, what we've lost. Otherwise, you know, I mean, 14 games to go. Are we just going to, because we're safe, are we just going to keep sliding and sliding and then say at the end of the season, well, you know, we didn't do too bad? Because when you've hit 3rd and 4th in the league, it brings morale and ambition to the players. And then to just turn around and say, you know, oh, we've slipped a little bit, I don't think that's good enough.
It's harsh, that though.
Well, look,
Maybe
it's all
it is
about,
harsh.
it is all about opinions, and that's what we'll have this show for. Halfway through the show, time for the ads.
A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. You can find them at skipsandbins.com. Telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Easy contract, free and pay as you go, waste collection. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's sauces, which are handmade in Cumbria. You can order them from mrvickies.co.uk or by calling 01768 210 102. Welcome aboard to Fruy Vita Getaways. You can email them at fruivitagetaways@gmail.com. Call or text them 0792 842 7895. Please join and share their Facebook group as well at Fruy Vita Getaways. Book your holidays or short breaks in the UK or around the world with them. Let them find your happy place. ABTA and ATOL registered. Thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the video side of things. And thanks to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, Newcastle. And the guys who run our website, nufcmatters.com, where you can buy lots of t-shirts and merchandise. If you want to subscribe to the show, hit the subscribe button underneath this video today. It is free to do so. Hit the thumb up to like the video. It's good for the algorithm. And click share to your other social media. If you do subscribe, we do send you a free car sticker. To get that, email john@nufcmatters.com and he'll post you one out. If you want to join the NUFC Matters cult, then put your smartphone over this QR code now and it will take you straight there. Alternatively, go to the website, nufcmatters.com, and you can join for a one-off payment of £25. You'll receive a cup, a pen, a membership card, and a scarf, and entry into the monthly draw. You can also join via YouTube, and if you click join beneath the video, you will see a variety of prices and how you can support the channel. You can alternatively make a donation with a super chat in the chat tonight. Just click the $sign. We're also available on iTunes and Spotify and other podcast providers. We also help the food bank on this show. NUFCfansfoodbank.co.uk is where you'll find the matchday bucket, and you can make a virtual donation 365 days of the year. As always, we've got a whole host of events coming up throughout the year. An evening with Nobby Solano takes place on Saturday the 25th of March at the Tyneside Irish Centre. Tickets £15. Book now at nufcmatters.com. An evening with Peter Beardsley at Leamington Labour Club. Tickets are £20. 31st of March. And you can get them direct from the venue. An evening with Nobby Solano. Good Friday the 7th of April at 4 p.m. Tickets are a tenner and available behind the bar at Felling Cricket Club in Gateshead. An evening with Supermac, hosted by Gibbo at the Tynemouth Surf Cafe, Tuesday the 11th of April. And tickets direct from the venue. This is a limited ticket event, only 35 tickets available, so book soon. And an evening with Frank Clark and John Gibson, Thursday the 20th of April. Tickets are £15. Book now at nufcmatters.com. In June, Rob Lee will be at Louis Liquor Store in Newcastle, and you can get tickets direct from the venue. And an evening with Rob Lee, Lee Clark, John Beresford takes place the following evening, Friday the 2nd of June at the Grand Hotel in Gosforth. This is in aid of the Healing Tour charity, and tickets are available from their website, www.healingtour.org.uk/events. And if you're a boxing fan, the Night of Champions comes to Gateshead at the Fed. Frank Bruno, Ricky Hatton, Nigel Benn, and Joe Calzaghe are part of the UK tour, and you can get your tickets from www.goldstarpromotions.co.uk. Okay, moving on. We've got plenty to talk about tonight, and just going to change it slightly and just talk a little bit about the stuff that we see the players get up to on the pitch. Is this really sportsmanship when you see the likes of Anthony Gordon, Darren, going across to the sidelines and listening into what Pep Guardiola's saying? There was a fantastic photo doing the rounds at the weekend from the game, and ultimately he was caught by the Man City players listening into what was being said. It hasn't took them long to get into the sportsmanship side of things at the club, has it?
Funny.
I mean, does everybody do this? Because I've got to be honest, I haven't really noticed it until now, but it's now starting to get highlighted. And this, I guess, is what Ten Hag meant when he was going, they're an annoying team.
Hey, you do. If it's got to be done, you want to win. You know what I mean?
I mean, is it? Do you agree with it? Do you think it's the right thing to be doing?
Yeah, not really. Like I just think he's went to wind them up personally. It's good. It's good he's done it just to wind up like an annoying team. I like to be called an annoying team because it shows you how far we've come. But I think he's just messing about, isn't he? But yeah. I think.
All right, Paul Gallant's channel, get him to 1,000 subs. Len Arnold's making an impassioned plea. Says, Evening all, can I ask a favour? Can we try and get Paul Gallant to 1K subs, please? He always shares other channels and just needs a little push to get to 1K. Hope people can do the right thing and help. There you go, Paul. I've read that out. I know you haven't asked him to do that, so it's very nice of you, Len. Please subscribe to Paul's channel. So, Alan, it's called Shithousery, I think. Is it?
Well, to be honest with you, Steve, I just laugh. I was watching the game between Man U and Liverpool, and Man United were wasting time, and the Liverpool fans were booing. And I thought, well, what's changed there? You know, it's been going on shithousery for all the time I've watched football for 52 years. It means nothing, this Gordon thing for me, like Steve, to be honest. It's just part and parcel of the game. It's just annoying acceptance, really, at times. I've not got really much to say about it.
That's fine. No, I'm going to go around. Quick fire, lads. Barry, is there anything wrong with it?
Nah. It's part of the character. I think it's like Alan. It's always been there. It's different players react in different ways. I think it you've got the Klopp effect who stands and shakes his head and stomps about. You've got various other people. Hey, if we can pick up some good stuff from there, coach, go for it.
Yeah. All right, Kev.
I love it. Well, they should have had Dan Burn over there to just look after him a little bit more and get more players over there. I mean, look, whatever they're saying, we could have the same conversation from our coaching staff and just not really listen, but just stand over there. I endorse it, to be perfectly honest. Just get under the skin a little bit more. Yeah. Well, you know, just ways and ways. Again, it's another psychological way you can win a game. And yeah, so just carry on.
You agree, Ian?
Yeah, I think it's mint. I thought it was really funny. And they deserved it as well. Did you see them at the end, them two knackers in the corner with a ball? You know, I was dying for someone to properly go through them and just put them in the stand. Don't want to lose any players doing, but I was just thinking, we're in the pub.
Holland, just messing around in the corner, Holland.
Well, he's a smug person as well, isn't he, Haaland? I've seen a different side to him, like. And Grealish is just like a bloody schoolgirl on the pitch, isn't he? You know what I mean? With his hairband and that. So yeah, no. I think that they were up to it more than we were, and I think Gordon is an irritating little so-and-so, isn't he? You know, which will be a good thing going forward.
But every team needs them, though.
Bellamy was Bellamy.
He was exactly the same. Bellamy, but what he done on the pitch was amazing, wasn't it?
He reminds us a lot of Bellamy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's only 2 minutes since Murphy was waving bye-bye to.
Yeah,
it's unfortunate for Murphy. That's the best thing he's ever done on the pitch for us.
Vince, what about you?
Yeah, it's great. It's fantastic. I loved when the camera panned and you could see Trippier smirking after he'd shoved Grealish couldn't get past him and he'd shoved him doing this. I love it. It's part of the game. I'm not doing that, but what I don't like is the cheating, like cheating, diving, stuff like that. That's the things that you don't want to see. Things like that, like this blatant or like Man U getting all decisions and stuff like that and all that, like things they had I don't want to see. But things like that, that's just you get them wound up, you get them head up. That's what you've got to get in their heads and all that. Yeah, I love it. And Trippier blatantly does as well.
George, are you a fan?
I've got to say the word I would use is just professionalism. I'm afraid it's not new, and certain players thrive on it. And if it irritates the other side, the coaches aren't going to stop it. They're just going to let it go on. I mean, some of the people I've played back with, I'm talking, 60 odd years ago, they had their routines when on the pitch. I better not name names because I think he's still alive, but there was a left winger I used to play with. A brilliant player, but what an irritating character on the field. And he'd I find something to say to the right back that was marking him, like, is your lass all right since the last time I slept with her? And the right back would spend the rest of the game trying to kick him off the pitch, So no, it's happened all the time. It's not new. And if Gordon gets away with it and irritates them, well, fine. Because if they're being irritated, then mine's not on the game.
Yeah. Okay, Paul.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's brilliant in some sense. I mean, if it winds up the opposition, and we can scrape something from the game, yes, brilliant. I mean, sometimes you enjoy it, unless it goes against you. And but like I say, I mean, I think it's part of the game today. It wasn't when I used to go many years ago, but that's the modern game for you.
Of course it is. Okay, last topic tonight is a big question, and it take a little bit more of an answer, this one, Darren, I think, and it's, do you really want to qualify for Europe this year?
Ooh. We had... Oh, very good. Oh.
That way, Darren. That way.
But your Paul's happy he's going last.
I'll go for the Euro Conference League. That's what I'll go for. Now I want West Ham's in there.
Okay, so so you want to avoid the Champions League because
I do not want Champions League. We're not ready for Champions League at all. And I like you get more money, but I think going Champions League, I think we're not ready for the Champions League. I don't think we've got the players to go in the Champions League. I'll take that. You with a Conference League or West Ham's in. I'll take that. I'll be happy with that. Anything else for that?
Right. Okay. What about you, Alan?
Second place for me in Champions League.
Second place.
Bruno Guimaraes. I'm telling you one thing. Bruno Guimaraes will not be here next year if we don't finish Champions League. This time next year, when say 5th, 6th, Bruno Guimaraes will not be here next year. He wants Champions League, lads. I'm telling you.
It's just about
I want him signed up now. I want him signed up now to a new contract. I think we can do it. I mean, if you look at it, 2 games, we've got Forest and Wolves. Man U only have 1 game, and then the playoffs. We could be 2 points behind them in 3 games' time, lads, all on the same games. If we win the 2 Forest and Wolves, Forest away, Wolves at home, and then we'll play Man U at home. On April the 2nd, if we're 2 points behind Man U, would you settle for 7th place, Darren? I wouldn't. I would not now. Not. I said 7th at the start of the season. I must admit.
I just don't think we're ready for Champions League. Honestly, I said at the start of the season, anywhere in the top 10 because we've had such a good season. I would push the Euro Conference. That's the most high I'll go. Nothing else.
I just think for attracting better players, we need you.
It'll come though. It'll come. It's a marathon, not a sprint. That will come in a couple of years. It'll take at least 3 to 5 transfer windows to bring your players in.
Okay, Barry, what about you?
I'm the same. I think to do anything in the Champions League, we would need 8, 9, possibly more players in the transfer window coming up. Are we going to get that? Cat and L's chance. People don't want to sell to us as it is. I think we're going to get players. Give it the time that obviously the club's going to work and get the right players. But whether it's going to happen that quickly, I mean, we're being linked with everybody under the sun again. Interesting the one the day, Steve, about a little Brazilian lad called Pedrinho. I'm thinking Beardsley is coming back to Newcastle in the form of a 17-year-old. He's played 2 games for his club who were going to bid 25 million for. I'm thinking, yeah, if he's called Pedrinho, get him. I'll have his name on the back of my shirt as soon as possible. I agree with Darren. I think it's the conference is the next step. I know what Alan's saying. It's you want them to achieve as the best they can. Are we ready for it? Nah. We're finding our limitations in the Premier League with the squad we've got now. Champions League is another huge step up. I mean, Man City don't set the Champions League alight every season and look at the size of the squad they've got on. It's a hell of a jump. My heart says yes because I remember the days when we were challenging in those competitions.
I just think Liverpool. I just think Barry. I just think Liverpool and certainly Chelsea have been much stronger next year.
Oh God! I look at the size of Chelsea's squad.
it's going to be even harder next year to get in the Champions League. So are you
Chelsea
prepared?
got 60 odd first team players.
True.
That's football.
We've got 16 compared to their 60 if who would actually be able to play in the Champions. I totally agree. I would love it if, to use a Keegan phrase, I would love it if we could do it, but it all depends on how many players we can bring in.
True.
I'm hoping, but at the same time, we've got to, like you say, we've got to get to that level as well. I think go for it. See how high we can get.
Yeah.
You know, don't
Don't
have
be
any target. Just see how high you can get. Why not? We've been there already this season. If we make it great, but I would have concerns that it's going to put a lot of pressure on the backroom teams to bring in enough players to make it successful. But go for it. Why not?
Kev,
just finish as high as possible. You know, if we get whatever we get, yes, I agree with Darren in terms of the Europa Conference. If it's Europa League, Champions League, yes, might be a little bit of a step too far, but that would be the goal for next year. So you got to take it in small steps, small little targets, small little goals. But hey, look, if we're finishing Champions League, I'm not going to complain with that. If we're finishing the Europa Conference, I'm not going to complain of that at all. If we finish 8th, I'm not going to complain of that at all because of the season we've had. But again, it's just it's just the ambition of the players, what they want, and what does Eddie Howe want, and where can he get them to? You know, look, from where we were 14 months ago to today, we're having these conversations. Where do you want to finish versus, you know, who's the worst 3 teams below us? You know what I mean? So it's like you've got there's a relativity, there's a realism about it. You know, so at the end of the day, look, finish as high as possible. Again, it's the Steve Bruce comment. It's, you know, recruitment of points, and let's see where we'll finish at the end of the season. I think we'll finish about 5th, 6th, 7th, somewhere around in there, and then bring the European nights back, attract that not high level of player, what Alan was suggesting about it, which we do need for the Champions League, which will elevate us to a next level, but just that next echelon underneath to where to compete, to have squad depth. There'll be a lot of movement in the summer. This is a big transfer window coming up in the summer. You know, I think we need a centre midfielder, we need centre forward, we need across the board a lot of players. But I think we've got to do what's the word? It's, you know, you've got to be logical about your buying process and what you can get at this point, because we've got the Newcastle tax or the Saudi tax, whatever you want to call it, because it's elevated prices. You know, so. You know, we'll just see what happens. You know, again, we've got 14 games, 13, 14 games, whatever it is. Pretty much give it a go. Every game's a cup final, not in a negative sense, but in the positive sense to where actually how high can we actually finish. So that's what I would be saying to them and the players as a manager, as a coach. Let's see where we can finish. Whatever happens, happens. So yeah, any European place for me.
Mm-hmm. Ian, what about you, mate?
I agree with all of them. In different ways.
I would like Europe, but I've got to be honest, the Champions League's too soon for me. But I understand finishing in the Champions League gives you that opportunity to attract better players.
So what I think is, I agree we're not ready for the Champions League, but if we wait until the season after this season, we'll probably still not be ready for the Champions League because we won't be able to attract the Champions League standard players that we will if we get in the Champions League. So I see it as, I was thinking about this before, we need 6 or 7 worldies, you know, like Bruno-ish standard players in certain positions so we can double up in all positions, and that's utilising someone like Dan Burn at left-back and centre-back as well. And we need a right-sided centre-back, a new left-back for me, centre midfields, attacking midfielder, winger, and a striker. So if we do somehow get into the Champions League, which we can do quite easily just by winning our 2 games that we've got in hand effectively, we'll number one, all the sponsorship deals that these aren't Muppets who are running the club. You know, they'll have the deals in place, and the deal will be you get A, if you get in the Champions League, B, if you get in the Europa League, or C, if you get in the Conference League, whatever that one's called. So we'd straight away jump to a higher revenue from that. We'll be able to attract more of these, 1 million and under sponsors as well, I think. So sponsorship revenue goes up. We'll get better players in. The FFP then is relaxed sooner. Well, not relaxed, but we've got a higher threshold for the FFP. So I just think, and also the other thing is, when you look at the Champions League, we are classing ourselves on a par with, I think, teams that are actually doing something in the Champions League. When you actually look at the starting level of the Champions League, we're more than good enough to finish second or third in a league, in one of the league groups. And I presume that, I can't remember because I've not been paying much attention to the Champions League, but if you finish third, the higher finishers drop down into the UEFA, into the Europa League.
Yep.
So I just think to myself, I don't think there's no way that Eddie will be sort of thinking he doesn't want to be in the Champions League. But I think if we get there and we bomb out of it, we've not lost anything, but we've gained. We will gain more. We might just look a little bit silly, but I think by getting there, we're opening a lot more options player-wise up to us, and we can get the better players in. We can attract the Madisons, where I don't think he's coming if we don't get a Champions League. Plus also the tax that we're paying as well on the players. A lot of the players that I think we're going to sign, I don't think we're going to sign many from England. They've learned a lesson. There's no point in wasting our time with all these muppets at Man United and Arsenal and Chelsea. I think we're going to go abroad and we're going to look for the Brunos, the 40, 50, 60 millions. There's some really good players out there who are more than capable of doing it in the Premier League. So, yeah, that's what I reckon.
All right. Good stuff. What about you, Vince?
Yeah, I think Ian's read me mind there. I read my script. I was just going to say about it's the revenue. It's the if we get in the Champions League, it's the money that we bring. We're going on about FFP. That's what we want. The Champions League, the sponsorship, everything through it. It's more money into the club. And like it says, we could do maybe get through the rest. If we don't, we're dropping UEFA Cup. But it's about, that's what we need to do. We need to build this team, in this FFP that hangs around our neck seems to be more than other teams. We'll just say that. That's what we need. We need to bring this money in. We could do that, then we can build the squad.
It's our brand as well, Vince. We've got to get Newcastle United out there in Europe.
Yeah. And that's what it is. It brings it all out. If we do that, build the revenue, build the FFP, build more players, we'll get more players in. Money, it's where we've got to go. The Saudis will be aiming for that. His owners now, they'll want that. But you're saying teams not ready for it. Realistically, you just do as well as you can. You land where you're on. You just got to get on with it, haven't you? You want, and you don't want to go to your players. Well, we'll just maybe go for it. Go for it. Do what you can. Every game, a cup game now. We ain't got anything else. Nothing else is blocking us. Other teams above it have got Europe and still in the FA Cup and stuff like that. We ain't. We've just got the league from now on. Nothing's distracting us, and we can just go for it. And I think we possibly could get there. Yeah, if we don't get Champions League, it's still not a loss. Like it says, if we finish in the UEFA spots, if we finish that, it's still it's still been great. We can push on, we can do. But if we get there, then it's the revenue building that quicker, and then it just puts it in more and builds, and we'll get there. We'll get there stronger, and we will. Like it says, yeah, definitely.
George, what's your views on Europe?
Easy for me. High as we can get and get into the top competition that's going, and that's the European Cup. The fact that our squad needs developed is going to be with us for a while, and we've got to live with that. However, getting to that position and getting into the European Cup doesn't just do things for the club and the city. Just think what it does to the squad, to the players, to some of the younger players who haven't seen yet. It's amazing how some success like that filters down through the club, and everybody wants to be up and at it in that much harder. I mean, I joined as a schoolboy just after the 55 cup win, and it was everybody was talking about it all the time, and that's what they wanted to do, and it made people try that little bit harder. So it does have an impact from top to bottom, both on the playing staff and non-playing staff. and everybody wants to be involved. And who wouldn't want the great nights like we had before with Barcelona and in the FaZe Cup with all those teams as well? No, as high as we can get, and if it happens to be the European Cup champion, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. All right. And what about you, Paul?
Well, before a ball was kicked, I placed a bet, top 4. And I stick by that because I believe that it's achievable. It's going to be hard, but like I said, the Premier League is the hardest league in the world. And you either get out there, roll your sleeves up and get in there and, get the points, or at the end of the day, we'll just, we get into Europe, into the lower part. But my bet's top 4, and I stick by that.
Well, I tell you what, it's been a great show, lads. Lots of opinions and a great contribution from the chat. Thanks to everybody who's put a question in as well and contributions in. They've all been welcome. But as always, Fans Forum Monday, it's good to have a sensible debate. Thanks to everybody for taking part. I'm back 10 o'clock tomorrow morning with Ross Gregory. Look forward to seeing you all then. Have a good night, lads.
Good to see you, lads.
Cheers, lads. Have a good one.